At this time, I would like to introduce you to Lucas Novotny, the Director of Housing and Auxiliary Services, who will be our MC for this presentation.
The applause always feels a little contrived because I was just up here, I walk off stage just for you to clap me back in. Feels a little weird, but thank you for it. It always builds my ego a little bit, so I appreciate it. Welcome. Let me add my welcomes to the welcomes that were just here. Welcome to be the new families of Bluejays. It's so important that you're here. It's so important that you're a member of our community. Before I get started, I would like to just share a little bit about how the importance of parents and how moved I am by parents and how important you can be in your students' lives. So last night, I had the privilege of serving the family who lost their student. And I got to minister to them while they were in a lot of pain. And I got to watch not only how special our students are in the way that they gather, but also how special the community of parents are. And I was just humbled by their presence. And so I know that you didn't know them, but I know that if you are anything like them, I know how special you already are. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your Bluejays to us. I'm so pleased to see so many excited new parents, okay? So that's the kind of the downer here, but we'll bring it back up. This presentation, I'll introduce my lovely colleagues here, and I'll probably give them a lot of heck throughout the presentation, but how this presentation works is we are intended to go through a cross-section of a lot of different topics. ESPN, this is going to be difficult. Sorry for the notification. So we're intended to go a cross-section of projects, of topics this far, but we're only intended to go about this deep, right? The function of this presentation is to cover the waterfront and ask and start to spark curiosity, to start to spark questions for you to either ask people with name tags on, ask people in the blue shirts, the black polos, or anybody like here up in front throughout the day. What did you mean by that? Can I get more information? This is supposed to be fun, quick, lively, engaging, and cover a broad spectrum of topics. So if we don't go deep enough, there will be time for question and answer at the very end, but it's intentional that we kind of leave you hanging a little bit so that you have something to go on, something that you want to research a little bit more. Okay? So that's what we do. That's what we're going to do here. It's going to be a little bit fun. I'm struggling up here a little bit with the bell, but what we'll do is we'll go quick and fast and furious. I'll ding my friends. I'll make fun of them. Hopefully we'll laugh together a little bit. That's how this should go. So without any further ado, and Lucas rambling, because this should be the most that you hear from me today, other than some quick whips, I'll let my fine, esteemed colleagues introduce themselves, because they'll be the ones imparting so much wisdom on you today. So why don't you start, Kyle?
So good morning, families. My name is Kyle Lyric. I'm the Director of Campus Ministry here at Creighton, and I work within the Division of Mission and Ministry. Just a quick couple things about my personal background. I come from Alliance, Nebraska, out in the Panhandle. It's a small town, farming and railroad town. The only thing that puts Alliance on the map is Carhenge. If you've heard of Carhenge, it's like Stonehenge, except with cars sticking up out of the ground. That's all we got. So if you haven't heard of that, never mind. So I came to Creighton for undergrad. I came in as a wide-eyed, sort of naive freshman just wanting to make money. That was my sole purpose in life at that point. And then I got a great Jesuit education, and what I like to say is the Jesuits ruined me in the best way possible. So when I left here, I ended up making $60 a month doing Jesuit Volunteers International for 2 years out in Micronesia in the Pacific, and that really started my path toward ministry. I did end up studying with the Jesuits in Berkeley, California, and then made my way back here. So it's really great to be back and great to see all of your faces here this morning.
Hi, I'm Desiree Nouns. I am originally from Colorado, although I've lived here almost as long as I lived in Colorado, and I don't know how I feel about saying I'm from Nebraska, so I'm still working on that. I've worked here for 18 years. I'm going to be in my 19th year. You're probably thinking, gosh, she must have started when she was 12. She's so young. I did. Was that smart. I went to Regis University in Denver, which is another Jesuit institution, which I am a proud alum of, and then moved my way here right out of undergrad and started working here at Creighton right out of undergrad. So got my master's degree here, have loved this community, have loved meeting students and working with students. I forgot to tell you what I do. the director of the community standards and well-being, which means I get to deal with a lot of different things that come our way here at Creighton.
Hey, good morning. My name is Joe Eklund, and I'm the Director of Academic Success here at Creighton. I've been here for 10 years. I'm a graduate of another Jesuit school, unnamed at this point, but very proud of my Jesuit education. Spent 10 years in public education and wanted to get back to a Jesuit environment, so we moved to Omaha. And we've had a great experience here. Love what I do at Creighton. Love working with students. I really don't know. I spent 1 year teaching 7th grade, and beyond that, I've spent my entire adult life in higher education, so I really don't know what else I would do if I'm not working on a college campus. And we have 3 daughters, all of whom are Jesuit educated, 2 of whom are and are coming to Creighton. So I'm a parent as well. So thanks.
Good morning again, everyone. Michelle Bogard. I work in student life, hopefully working with your students outside of the classroom. So when they are learning in the laboratory of life, as we call it, and leading in different ways on campus. As I said, I've been here since 2001. I have degrees from not Jesuit institutions, but I truly believe that my education as an adult has come from the Jesuits and my work with and alongside your students. I too am a Creighton parent. Dylan is in the preschool here on campus, and so he is one of our youngest Jays.
All right, so we're off to a great start. And so throughout the presentation, I'll probably ding them, if you can hear that. If that goes a little bit, if they go a little bit too long. So this is our first time. This is together. This is going to be the lightning round. Should be quick. Little words of wisdom from our panelists. So how about we start with Dr. Joe Eklund about course registration, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Your sons and daughters, your students, they do register tomorrow for their fall classes. There should be no anxiety about this at all. They will certainly get a full load of schedule, a full load of classes on their schedule. They may have to take a class at 8 a.m. or on a Friday, but they will certainly get a full slot of classes. So the other thing that some folks are worried about is the pre-health track. We do guarantee that students will get in Gen Chem and Gen Bio if they're eligible for Gen Chem and Gen Bio, even though we've got a really large class. So again, there should be no worries at all about course registration. It does start tomorrow. After July 9th, they've got the ability to go in and tweak their schedule as well. So there's flexibility with that too. So there you go.
Pretty good, Joe. Pretty good. Dr. Bogard, please.
All right. Just like when you sent your kiddos off to grade school and high school, you needed vaccines. We too require our students to be immunized since they'll be living and working and learning together. We need you to log all that information with Student Health Services. Otherwise, your son or daughter will have a hold on their account. So make sure that you update all of that information with Student Health Services. And then as far as waivers go, all right, fun fact, the state of Nebraska and the state of Alabama are the only 2 states in the union in which the age of majority is 19. So what does that mean for you? Your son or daughter will ask you to sign waivers until they turn 19. So if they want to go to a dance, really high risk activity, right? If they want to go to a dance, they're going to reach out to you and say, Mom, Dad, can you please sign this waiver because I'm not 19 yet. It is legitimate. It is not a spam email, so please do not ignore it. You will be receiving your first batch of waivers starting next week. And so when your son or daughter truly asks, please let them go to the dance. It's not that high risk.
Des, online alcohol courses.
So with the waiver emails, your student will be getting an email from the Division of Student Life that asks them to complete an alcohol education course. It's called Think About It, and it actually is a module that is going to take them through really just kind of choices in their social life, choices kind of in environmental, where they're living, who they're meeting, and really kind of helps them go through some scenarios that they might expect or may encounter in college. That includes choices about alcohol and drugs. It includes choices about relationships. It talks a little bit about our community standards and our policies that we have. It touches on Title IX, which is about sexual and relationship misconduct. All of this stuff is compliance that we have to do. So not only do we want to educate your students, we want to make sure that we're following federal law. So we're required to do this as an institution, but we know that this information is really important that they know before they get onto our campus.
Right on time. All right. So we'll move on to the next section. We know that there's a lot to happen in the orientation process. So we call this the Start Me Up, some things to get the students started on the right foot. So right back to Des, I believe, to talk about Move-In and Welcome Week.
So yes, so Move-In and Welcome Week is literally the best. I don't even say. Yes, you will probably encounter that. It is probably one of the most exciting times on campus to greet new Blue Jays, to meet you maybe a little bit closer, to sweat it out in that August heat. But the best part about Move-In is probably just the enormous welcome that you will receive from everybody on campus. Our new student orientation leaders are so excited because they were greeted in the same way, so they want to kind of pay that forward, and they do this out of the kindness of their hearts. We don't pay them. So when they swarm your car, which they will, and it's gonna be weird, you're gonna be like, I don't have control over this, and they just get your refrigerators, and I'm surprised that they don't pick up people because they just get everything. And they huff it up the stairs. We don't let them usually use elevators, so they literally are climbing 9 flights of stairs and queue it. So it is a fantastic way to kind of be on our campus at the beginning of the school year. And your students will be a little overwhelmed, especially those introverts, but know that we will educate them and get them prepared for that transition.
All right. Sorry to cut you off there, Des. Welcome Week is very exciting. You can get talking about it for a long time. All right. Joe, how about talking about the EDGE and RSP?
Yeah, absolutely. So the EDGE is a collection of programs and resources that are for our students from the moment they decide they want to come to Creighton all the way through getting a job or professional school or graduate school or whatever they end up doing. So think of it as a concierge at a really nice hotel. Without the room service, that's Lucas's job, is to provide the room service. You can talk to him about that later. But there are 4 aspects about the EDGE: the academic success piece, the learning communities, the career center. You will hear about those throughout the course of the day. The one area that I want to focus on a little bit this morning for a second is the RSP program. And the RSP program, we're very proud of what we provide for our new students. It's essentially our first year experience program. All of your students are already assigned to an RSP group. That group, they will meet their advisor today or tomorrow during the advising sessions. And then that group is the same as their Welcome Week group. So when they arrive on campus on Welcome Week, that same Saturday, they have a class right away where they meet the other members of that class. They stay with that group, they stay with that class throughout the course of Welcome Week, and then that class becomes their RSP 1 credit class throughout the course of the fall semester for them. So there's 3 main people in the RSP program that we want to talk about briefly. One is the faculty advisor, and then there are 2 student leaders, so the decurion and the peer leader. That's really a safety net for students to make sure that they're successful and taken care of. I couldn't hear it very well. It was kind of I'm old, I don't have good hearing. So.
You are getting pretty old, Joe. All right. Oh, well, lovely. We're here. We get to talk. Lucas gets to talk. All right. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about living and learning in the residence halls. Keep me honest over there, peers. But everybody's going. All right. I lost my train of thought now. So what we want you to know about in our living communities is that they're intentional, right? They're more than just pizza parties and big, excited move-ins. There's a lot of intentionality in what we're trying to do. We value our class year experience. We value the idea that students will live with a roommate. So our freshmen live with freshmen. Our sophomores live with sophomores. There's no way that was done. No. Oh. Just setting it. And so basically the moral of the story, we'll talk a lot throughout the course of this summer preview. You'll see a few different presentations. There's one tomorrow as well, but you'll hear me later talk about roommate issues. But I just want you to know that there's an intentionality behind what we're attempting our students to live with. We want you to have that roommate experience. We want you to grow as a result of that. And so we'll talk a little bit about how to navigate that as we continue this presentation. But I just want you to know we're not just slamming students into a, 14 by 10 room and just say, let's see what happens. There's a lot of intentionality in what we're doing, the programs and services that we'll offer, the RAs on the floors, the RDs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue. Hopefully that was okay.
That was great, Lucas.
Thanks. I need validation. All right, back to Dr. Bogard to talk a little bit about getting involved, I believe.
Sure. There are plenty of ways to get involved. I mentioned 230 organizations, but we want you to know that our research and research nationwide says that students who are engaged on campus persist at higher rates and do better academically. And so a lot of our students will sometimes enter with blinders on of, I need to get a 4.0, I need to get into medical school. And we want to make sure that they're learning outside of the classroom as well. So we have a pre-med society. We have different opportunities for them to get some good experience. For example, our VP of Finance for our student government can walk away from that experience saying, I just managed an $800,000 portfolio over the course of a year. That's great experience to have. And so we want to make sure our students go to the SCUT shutdown that first week of September, are able to kind of engage our student organizations, see where that fit is, get involved in different clubs, organizations, sports clubs. Believe it or not, Creighton has a hockey team. We also have a Quidditch team. If you're familiar with Harry Potter, we actually have Quidditch. They actually went to the national tournament this past year. So very elite Quidditch players here. So there's a fit and a niche for everyone. And if they're not finding it, they can find 3 friends and start their own club.
Great. Go a little bit deeper into those connections, Kyle. Talk a little bit about making connections.
So one of my favorite answers when I ask students, why did you come to Creighton? A lot of times they'll say a couple things of the same nature. One, when I stepped onto campus for my tour, something felt different on that campus. And when we dig into that a little deeper, what they say is, I felt seen. I felt like people wanted to know me as a human and as an individual, not just obviously as a number. And oftentimes you'll hear students say they have to plan extra time to walk across campus to get to class on time because they're going to run into so many people that they know that they want to stop and have a conversation with. So I think what distinguishes Creighton from a lot of other schools like it is the sense of community that happens here. And Lucas alluded to that a little bit. We experienced it in a painful but very real way last night with 500 people in our church in the summertime, mostly students that showed up because of that community piece. So that's not going to happen on its own, though. Your student has to make some effort to make that happen. So just to mention a couple specific things, my campus ministry team hosts an open house the Monday before classes start, so that students can come and meet our staff, any one of our 120 student leaders, so that they can start to make some of those connections. And the other big one we offer is the freshman retreat, which is the second full weekend after classes start. We can take 65 freshmen. We often fill up and have a waiting list for that. So you can sign up today through Campus Ministry's website if they want to put their name in the mix to try to go on that freshman retreat. And then just to finally say that my division and the Division of Student Life of my colleagues take very seriously this sense of community. So we'll be working hard at that with your student.
I don't know if I've ever dinged you, Kyle.
I felt very disrespected.
All right, sorry. Integrity in the program. So we call this next section How to College, right? How to navigate this thing called college. Michelle alluded to it a little bit, that these first 6 weeks are critical to the students' development. So we want to talk a little bit about these first 6 weeks and go a little bit deeper into the services and the experiences that they're going to have during this first 6 weeks in our section called How to College. So I think we come right back to Dr. Bogard about building community.
As Kyle said, we had a huge gathering last night, and that comes from a sense of belonging that we really want your student to be able to kind of get into and to lean into. And so our community is built intentionally. It's not by happenstance. We program intentionally to bring people together. Those who are at the margins, who don't think that they want to join things, we try to reach out and bring them in. But we need your help and partnership in building that community. So we know that your sons and daughters are going to be behind devices. They're going to be living in the residence halls with doors. And so we need your help to encourage them, especially those first 6 weeks, to come out of their rooms, to engage with friends in person, to really stretch themselves so that they get to know people. And we know that's awkward. They're going to say name, hometown, and major for the first 6 weeks over and over and over again. And so when they call you on the phone and talk about that, really push them out. When they say welcome week is really overprogrammed and there's so much to do, that's intentional. We don't want them to have time to be homesick. We want them to stay with us, to not go home over Labor Day. We want you to be part of our community as well. So mark your calendars for the middle of September, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's family weekend. Come back to us then and take time to kind of reconnect with them, but really help and push us to have your student connect with us and build community here.
What a great ending.
Wow. Mic drop.
Build community here, period. I loved it. Rule follower. Joe, you want to talk about academic adjustments for us? Be brief. You struggled last time.
Absolutely, you're right, I did. So when you talk about academic adjustments, I'm going to focus for a moment on the intellectual aspect of wellness. And we really try to impress upon our students, especially in these first 6 weeks, the importance that mindset plays in their success. It's really, really important that they arrive knowing that this is not high school. That may go without saying, but many of our students come from AP classes, dual enrollment classes, college prep curriculums. Those are all incredibly helpful. They're preparatory, but they're not the real deal, right? So none of that prepares the student fully for the rigor of Dr. Sukup's Gen Chem course, or allows that student to not read or annotate his or her history textbook, right? So we want to make sure that students recognize right out of the gate the importance that hard work plays into that. And we will emphasize that with students during Welcome Week, really the day before classes begin. So the other thing that I want to talk about real quick when we talk about academic adjustments is the value of the core curriculum. And I know Tanya mentioned this earlier this morning, but we really want students to approach, especially in these first 6 weeks, that philosophy course, that theology course, that critical issues course with an open mind, recognizing that those courses may help them discern what they want to do with their life. Finally, one quick academic adjustment for you as parents. I want you to recognize that B's may happen and that that's going to be okay, and your student is going to be terribly successful in spite of getting a B. Lots of our students come to Creighton without having received a B in their high school career. And your encouragement, if they come to you with that concern, is going to be really, really helpful in helping them be successful.
You had such good points, and but you just kept pushing me.
Yeah, but you were better. You were better.
I
this
didn't
time.
want to ding you there, but I had to. I haven't, like I said, integrity in the presentation. Kyle, why don't you talk about spiritual wellness for us?
So social scientists who are looking in this country at emerging adults and spirituality and religion are finding that at this stage of life, it's not uncommon that emerging adults will sort of deconstruct the faith that they were maybe exposed to growing up and then have the space to start to reconstruct what that faith looks like for them. So in other words, taking ownership of their faith. And that's something that I really enjoy being able to walk with your student through as they're asking some of those hard questions, perhaps hitting a moment of crisis, but then coming out on the other side with their own experience of what that faith and spirituality looks like. So no matter where students are in their spiritual journey or not, we are here to support them and walk with them. So we have things like retreats, many different types of retreats, small faith sharing groups, Bible studies. Of course, we have masses 4 times a day and then 6 times on the weekends. Tomorrow at noon, you have some space in your schedule. If you'd like to attend the regular daily mass at St. John's right on campus, you're more than welcome to do that. But then we also have something we're really proud of called the Interfaith Prayer Service to start the second semester, where we have a team of students from various Christian and non-Christian faith traditions that plan an experience in St. John's to really highlight and lift up the religious diversity we have on our campus. So we will walk with them no matter where they are, and we're really excited to do that.
Thanks, Kyle. Des, do you want to continue to talk a little bit about coping?
Sure. So college is exciting, but it's also scary. There's a lot of unknowns. You don't know your roommate. You don't know your floor mates. You don't know your teachers. So it's like starting over. So we know that as exciting and as kind of impactful that this transition will be, it is as scary and probably provides a lot of anxious nights that your student is thinking about or will think about when they get here. So with all that said, we know that there's an emotional roller coaster that they're going on, and we're here to help. We really have the resources. We want you to know that we will support them. So if they are homesick or they maybe are breaking up with the relationship they've had for a really long time, all of those things can happen while they're here in the first 6 weeks. So we have the counseling center, which is in this building on the first floor. The Edge is a perfect resource for academic troubles, even in the first 6 weeks of, gosh, you know what, I thought I was really smart in A, maybe I need to learn a little bit more, and maybe I need a little help. RAs and RDs in the halls are fantastic, and there's that pastoral guidance. When we're talking about the physical wellness, we know that you took good care of them when they got sick, when they had colds, when they had headaches, when they just needed maybe some mental health rest. We have a health center here, also in this building, which is co-located with our counseling center. So really that mind and body is taken care of in the same place. They have a really good way of saying, gosh, you know what? You need some sleep, but maybe something's not helping you sleep. So I'm gonna take you to a counselor that can talk with you maybe about some issues. But we are absolutely here to help. We have the resources. Encourage them to reach out because we can help them through it.
I had my finger held on the buzzer. I didn't know how to get out of that. So thank you, Des. So Des talked a little bit about some difficulties that could exist. And so we realize that those are probably going to happen. So we wanted to prepare you as parents and as partners with us through the section that we call Help, I Need Somebody, because we want to go one click deeper into some of those challenges that your students might experience. And I really struggled with this next part to click this button because you'll hear from Dr. Joe Eklund twice in a row, and I always get nervous about giving him that much latitude to talk to you. So, Joe, be mindful, 2 sections in a row for you.
Yes, but this first one's going to be really quick because there's absolutely zero reason why your son or daughter is not as successful as they want to be because of the academic support that's available on our campus. We've got a very robust tutoring and academic support program. We have tutoring, we're centrally located, we have group tutoring every night in the sciences and in math. We've got one-on-one tutoring in pretty much any subject a new student would take. It takes 30 seconds to schedule an appointment, which is quicker than tweeting out something for most students. Everything that we provide is free, so there's no cost to anything that we provide. And we know that students take advantage of it. We had more than 6,000 visits to the tutoring center last year. We know that was not the same person every time. So there's no stigma at Creighton for students to receive and reach out for academic support. The other area of academic support that we provide and we're very proud of is our professional academic coaching. We've got 4 staff in our office that provide one-on-one coaching for students who may want to come in at the very beginning of the semester and do a time management plan, all the way over to the other end of the spectrum where someone's really dealing with some pretty severe test anxiety and everything in between. It can be a one-time visit, it can be a weekly meeting, whatever the student wants, we're going to make sure that we provide that. So, and we had over 700 visits in terms of coaching appointments last year. I just found out from my staff yesterday, so I'm very excited about that. So, the other piece that we want to talk briefly about is the Career Center. We're one of the only schools in America where all of our new students, right out of the gate in their first year, forcibly have to go to the Career Center through the RSP program. Forcibly is probably not the right word, but they do visit the Career Center in the RSP program. The Career Center does all kinds of things that are pretty typical. A couple that I want to focus on that may help in terms of that concept of help I need someone is they do a great job with career assessment. So if your son or daughter is really beginning to wonder what they want to do, the Career Center is going to be a great resource for them to turn to, in addition to their faculty advisor, a great resource to help them determine what is it that they want to major in, what can they do with that career, what do the job markets look like, things like that. The other program in the Career Center that I think is really unique to Creighton is our EDGE internship programs. We've got over 75 internships, and these are in addition to the internships that are out in Omaha. These are 75 internships that are essentially work-study type positions on our campus, primarily for freshmen and sophomore students. It could be a graphic design type internship. We had a business analytics student who worked in our registrar's office doing data analysis for them. So they're really intended to be linking a student to their major, keeping them on campus, getting paid a little bit more than they would get paid as a work-study student. The last stat I will leave you with is 73% of our students graduated last year participated in either an academic experiential learning program or an internship, which is a pretty large number for us. So there we go, right before the buzzer.
Sure, something like that. All right. All of this is very important topics, Joe. All of these are very important topics. But there's going to be a time in this section or in your transition in which you're going to get asked a question from your student and you might not know who to call or where to go. And so Dr. Bogart's going to talk about this section, who to call.
So let's say your son or daughter gives you a call and says, my roommate has been swiping my LaCroix or my granola bars. What do I do? I can say what not to do. Should you call Father Hendrickson, our president? Nah. But believe it or not, we do have some friends out there, some families who will start out calling our president about some missing LaCroix. And so I'm a big fan of the concept of the very basic math concept of lowest common denominator. So you can be a great partner with us to help our students understand how they can solve their problems by that lowest common denominator. So the first question you might ask them, it would be, have you talked to your roommate? more often than not, our students don't talk to their roommate before they give you a call. So how maybe they have that conversation with their roommate first. If that doesn't work, maybe their RA, their resident advisor, or their resident director. Again, so maybe who not to call, start with the top, but help them problem solve of who that right person might be. I heard a lot of the Velcro, so I'm glad you're going through the folder. The blue views, those booklets, please keep those. Those are meant to be a resource not only in the next couple of months, but for years to come. At the very back of that blue view is a list of campus contacts, both phone numbers and emails of a lot of different people kind of thematically. So keep that in your kind of drawer in the kitchen. We all have those. So that drawer in the kitchen, when you need to call someone, there's a great list of people. And if you ever don't know where to start, just start out with Student Life or Katie Christensen, our Director of Student Retention. We can always get you kind of triage to who might be able to help your son or daughter.
Dr. Weingart talked about that this class has the best ACT scores. You know where they learned that? From you, because you're great students. Look at all those Velcros that opened and took notes. I'm so proud of you. That was great. All right, so Kyle, you want to talk a little bit about health and counseling?
So Desiree mentioned this. We have a student health and counseling center. It's combined, so when a student goes in, nobody knows what they're going there for. It could be something physical or psychological. It's in the lowest level of the Harper Center here. We have medical doctors, psychologists, and a psychiatrist on staff there who really specialize in treating college students. So they know what some of those issues are that students are dealing with. So just to say a couple more things about that. One of the good things is some of the stigma around seeking out counseling and mental health is going down. So that's a good thing. So about 65% of our students, by the time they graduate, will go and seek some sort of support, primarily for academic anxiety, but for any list of things that they're dealing with psychologically. What we want to really encourage is if your student is on some sort of mental health care plan now, that when they come to college, that's not the time to try to say, I'm going to start fresh and sort of get off the meds and not do any more treatments. Probably not a good idea. So please work with our counseling center to try to continue that good treatment. We do have a pharmacy right across the street at our clinic at 24th and Cummings, so we can have prescriptions transferred there if that's helpful for you. And then we also have students who are trained as health aides. So if your student is not feeling well after hours, which is usually when this happens, we can have a student health aide basically make a house call or make a room call. They'll go to the room, they'll do an initial assessment, they'll get an RN on the phone, and they can do some sort of consultation there from the room. So there's a lot of great ways for your student to get that kind of treatment, which might be really hard for you from a distance, but just know that we have a great staff there that can support some of that mental and physical health.
So our students might do this a lot, right? And there might be some of the things that Michelle was talking about, LaCroix and those types of things, ramen noodles. But there might be something more in depth. And so Des is going to talk about that call.
So we call this section the call. So this could happen as the perfect storm in your student's life. So kind of everything that we've talked about, maybe it happens all at once. And you get a call from your student and maybe you can't even understand them. They are so upset. Please don't jump on a plane and fly here. Don't get in a car. Don't get in a train or a bike. This is not the time to react so quickly because it might be very easily unpacked. And part of that is them reaching out if they need to talk to somebody, just maybe one of their friends or their RA of, gosh, you know what, all these things are happening at once. Maybe I finally have gotten that homesickness and I don't know what to do, or I broke up with my significant other, or I got my first F. Or, you know, I don't like my roommate. There's lots of things that can happen. We really urge you can reach out to us and we can kind of check on them and we can get them down to counseling. We have crisis times. We have a crisis counselor that's on call. There are a lot of ways that we can help, whether it be academics. Michelle talked about Katie Christensen, and I think Katie Christensen is one of the best people on this planet. She has one of the most calming voices I think I've ever heard, and she's just really, really good with students. And she's our retention director, and she really kind of unpacks that for them. We all have a want for your student to be successful, and we really, really urge you to give us a call. You are more than welcome to call any of us up here. Our numbers are in that book because you remember us from this presentation or you remember us from meeting us at Welcome Week. We really want your student to be successful, so please give us a call and we can help them.
So before you have to have the call, we would ask you to have the talk. Maybe not the talk that you had when they were 12 or 10 or whatever, not that talk. But a few different ideas that we are just going to offer some unsolicited parenting advice. This idea of maybe these are some of the conversations that throughout your transition experience, whether it be in the car ride home tonight or tomorrow, or throughout their time before the car ride back to Welcome Week or whatever, that you have some of these conversations. So we call this section Have This Talk. And so Dr. Eklund's going to talk about first, have this talk about parents.
Yeah, so don't expect in mid-September, mid-October to get that email from the university inviting you to schedule your parent-teacher conference, because you won't have that here at Creighton with your student coming. But we really, we start with that as a joke, but it is important to recognize that this is your student's academic pursuit, and we value that tremendously. We want them to be the ones making the decision. We want them to be the ones driving the bus. That starts later today with their academic advising session. You're not allowed in the room. So please make sure that you help honor that as well. But related to that, we really want you to have that conversation with your son and daughter, your student, about how involved you want to be in this academic pursuit, right? What are your expectations you have for them? What are their expectations that they have of you? Are they going to give you access to the Nest? The Nest is our online portal that allows all university business to kind of transact through. It is an opportunity for you to have access to their grades, their midterm and final grades, not their daily test grades, but their midterm and final grades and their financial records. You don't automatically have access to that, so they need to give you access to that. So have a conversation with them about that. But dig a little deeper as well and have a conversation with them about what courses are they worried about? What courses are they excited about? Do they know the resources, and what are they going to do if they hit a wall, if they start to struggle a little bit? Do they think they're going to have to study more than they studied in high school? The answer to that question is yes, without a doubt. So, but really, by taking the initiative and having that conversation now, it's going to help put them at ease, it's going to help them put you at ease, and it's also going to help make sure that they realize that you're really in their corner.
Thanks, Joe. Michelle, you want to talk about the university?
All right. My assumption is all of you as families had some family rules. Maybe it was a curfew, maybe it was chores, maybe it was something that you all as a family agreed upon. As your son or daughter joins the Creighton family, we too have expectations of our students. We refer to it as the Code of Conduct. It's written in a wonderfully positive manner. We expect our students to have academic integrity. We expect them to be in good conduct both on and off campus. And so we want you to make sure that you have that conversation with your student that just like you raise them as far as following your expectations, that the university too will have those expectations of them. If for some reason your son or daughter trips up, my assumption is that you probably grounded them or put them on the right path or had a conversation with them. If they violate our code of conduct, our expectations, we too will have similar conversations with them. We'll sit them down, we'll ask, why did you make these choices? How do we get you back on the right path? More often than not, you're never going to know that happened. Funnily enough, most students don't share that with their parents. You hear about a lot of things, but not of when they got in trouble. But if there ever comes a time where your son or daughter's relationship with the university is at risk, we're talking suspension or expulsion, we are going to involve you in that process. But again, our relationship is with the student to get them back on track, to have those educational conversations. So you're probably not going to hear about that unless that status may be in jeopardy, and then we will definitely reach out. In those blue views, you'll have information about what our code of conduct is, our expectations. Our Office of Community Standards and Wellbeing has a robust website as far as if your son or daughter ever meets and needs to meet with some of our friends in that office, what that expectation may be, what that conversation would be, and then advice for you as parents as well. The other thing too is how do you be a part of our community and be in touch with the university? We definitely encourage you as family members to stay connected. So signing up for the parent newsletter, for example, how do you get some monthly or quarterly updates on what's going on at the university? As well as we have a CU alert system that we would be happy to, your son or daughter can enroll you in so that you receive messages. When those moments of critical communication need to happen, we send those to our students, but we can also make sure that we send those to you as well. Please keep in mind that if there's a tornado alert in Douglas County, Nebraska, and you are in a different time zone, you might get those at weird times. If you don't want to know that, you don't have to sign up, but just I want to make sure that you know that what you would be signing up for as some of our university communication with you all.
Great, thanks, Michelle. I want to talk about having the conversation about others. So I like to kind of raise this up and do a little metacognition with you. So Emma Rapp, the person that they thanked, Max thanked for leading this program, her title is the Assistant Director of Transitions. And so she leads this transitions program, Summer Preview and Welcome Week, and some other transitions. But we know that transitions, the concept of transitions in many fashions, happen throughout all courses, all opportunities in your students' experience. And so I want to talk specifically about a few of those transitions. Some of those transitions could be what we've focused on a little bit, an intimate partner, a dating relationship, the transition to what that looks like as they navigate, whether being long distance or breaking up, or what that looks like. Maybe we're going to give it the college try and we're going to stay together and do long distance, and that might not work. Have that conversation with your student about that relationship, how that's going to happen, what their expectations are as it relates to that. Similarly, their friends, right? Their friend group, some of their friends could be coming with them. Some of their friends could be going across the country. They're going to meet new friends. How do they integrate their new friends into their old friend groups? How do those old friends come and visit? How does that friend transition look? So I think that's an important conversation that's often missed, and we see those. In a former life, I was a resident director. And you will not believe the number of conversations I had with students on my couch, frustrated or upset in regards to what those transitions looked like. That is a great buzz. Is that a message to me that I'm talking too much? All right. All right. Good one. I appreciate it. Whoever that was.
Audience participation.
Audience participation. Love it. The other transition that I wanted to go a little bit deeper into is that roommate transition. They've probably, maybe, most likely, never lived with somebody in a 10 by 14 residence hall room. And that's a transition. Just work with me here. How many people have ever worked out? Show of hands. Ran. When you did that, did you try not to sweat? Or did you yeah, sweat's going to happen, right? That's the same thing with a roommate situation, because when you sweat, when you work out, you know that growth happens. That's how you know it's working. That's how you know you got a good workout. That's how you know you became better. This roommate relationship is the same thing. They're not going to drink the same flavor of LaCroix or the same ramen noodles or go to bed at the same time. They're going to have to work together, and they might be a little bit stretched. They might sweat a bit. Okay? So we want to have the conversations about what are those non-negotiables, what are those really important things to your student that they need to communicate to their roommate. And we'll have plenty of opportunities for that. Roommate agreements, RA interventions, all of those things. But we want you to have the talk about what are those things that they need to communicate and that are the non-negotiables, the really important things, right? And I also want you to say, I say this all the time, we will put your students in uncomfortable situations intentionally, but we will never put them in an unsafe location. There's a difference between uncomfortable and unsafe, and sometimes we struggle with defining what that means. Mom or dad might have a different idea of what uncomfortable and unsafe is. That's where we work together. We promise you wholeheartedly that we'll never put your student in an unsafe location. We might, though, and probably will push them to be uncomfortable. So have that conversation of what that looks like. The next one is Omaha. I don't know who does that one. Kyle? Oh, yeah, this is yours.
So since the Jesuits started the order 500 years ago, they have been really intentional about where they locate their universities. And they have a value that you hear talked about, if you haven't heard it before, being women and men for and with others. And I think they work really hard to help us live out this sense from Catholic social teaching of having a preferential option for the poor. And so what I love about that is that they take that so seriously that most Jesuit universities, not all of them, but many of them, are located in urban environments. oftentimes located near or in neighborhoods where there's a lot of diversity, a lot of social diversity, a lot of financial diversity. And that's a great thing because that helps our students and our faculty and our staff really engage the reality and what they call the grittiness of the world. But with that comes a need for some common sense when it comes to safety and environment and awareness. I know your student will have more common sense than I did coming from my little town in western Nebraska when I came to Omaha. So quick story. I was a junior living off campus, not too far off campus, in an apartment. I'd walked out of my apartment building one morning to head to class, get in my car. And as I was getting in my car, this guy approached me, kind of knocked on the window, so I rolled the window down. He said, "Excuse me, sir, my car is broken down. I've got to get it towed from here back to Lincoln, 60 miles south. I need $100 for a tow for my car. Could you help me out?" Of course, happy to help you out. So I invited him into my car. We drove a few blocks down the street to an ATM. Like, he got out with me. We went up to the ATM, got him the $100, gave it to him. And he said, "I saw which apartment you came out of, so I'll make sure to, leave an envelope with the cash on the apartment stoop when I come back to town." So of course, when I told my parents this story, my mother in particular was just aghast that I would be so stupid as to let a stranger into my car, to let them go up to the ATM with me. Needless to say, I never saw the money again. The $100 never showed up, but I'm still looking for the guy. Kind of middle-aged, balding guy. He had these really obnoxious, polka dot socks on. So if anyone sees a guy that matches that description, help me out, that'd be great. But really what we try to help our students know and what you can help remind them of is, if they're going to walk to the old market, that's great, go with a group of friends. We have a great active public safety department that is very active on campus, so if a student ever feels like they'd like an escort somewhere, it's late at night, they're not feeling safe or comfortable, they can do that. Finally, we offer a Green Dot bystander training on this campus, which makes a huge impact on using the community to our advantage to, when you see something, say something, so any student can go through that throughout various times of the year.
Thanks, Kyle. Des, last talk about yourself.
Okay, so Michelle talked a little bit about expectations and things of that sort, but we know that college is a time of finding yourself, making mistakes, and that happens. Creighton is not any different from any other college in the nation. We have students that drink underage. We have students that partake in use of illegal drugs. We have students that have fake IDs. We have students that aren't making good positive choices for themselves. So please have that conversation with your student about that. It is, I think, a great learning opportunity for them when they're tempted, and to be honest with themselves about what is my boundary? What do I need to choose for myself? But that doesn't start unless you have that conversation of, that this is going to happen. You know that you might encounter this. Your roommate might have some alcohol when they move in. What does that conversation look like for you? And be strong in who you are to be able to have that conversation. And we know that relationships are a big part of this. And I'd like to talk to you more about what it means to be in a relationship, a healthy relationship, what those personal boundaries are. Our staff here does a really good job about talking about consent and what that means, and really respecting yourself and trying to, again, make positive choices for the development of who you are and the development of others. And hopefully, again, have that conversation with your student, because it starts with you and it starts with them, and then we will continue that education and awareness when they get to campus in the fall.
Thanks, Des. So we're getting ready. We're coming down the home stretch. We're going to reserve some time for question and answer so you can go a little bit deeper into some of these topics. But we want to leave you with some quick just advice, another lightning round, if you will. What not to do, really quickly. Popcorn style. Joe.
Sure. So my piece of advice is do not overreact to that first bad exam score that you may hear about, and do not call the faculty about it.
Kyle.
So some parents like to ask the question, when do I have to go? Like when it comes to welcome week, tell me when I have to exit stage left. And we help you out by saying that after the Welcome Week Mass and Protestant service, which is on the Saturday night after move-in, we start at 7:15. There's a little ice cream social after on the mall. That's your cue then to say your goodbyes. So what we really recommend is for some of you, perhaps wait until you get to the parking lot before you shed those tears. That can be kind of helpful for students. For the rest of you, absolutely wait till you get to the parking lot before you start the celebration dance.
Des.
So we talked a little bit about helping them find their own voice and letting them stand on their own 2 feet. So let them figure it out. Even the toughest situations build a stronger person. And so your immediate reaction is going to want to try to fix it for them. And sometimes they just have to feel that, maybe that ache to know that tomorrow's going to be a better day. So let them figure it out on their own.
Michelle. Oh, Michelle.
I would say do not show up uninvited on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So they like a little advance warning, and 8 a.m. is really early for college students.
And mine is don't make your students' residence hall room into a life-size game of Tetris. Like, there's so many times we try to cram everything we can into that room where they're just like walking around like this. Target's right down the road, 72nd and Dodge, so you don't have to buy everything right now. Get here, live in it, feel what it's like, and then the family weekend comes, Target runs happen, so don't make your residence hall room into Tetris. How about what to do?
So when you send care packages, please send care packages. And when you do, make enough for the floor, make enough goodies for your friends in academic success. Thank you. And also share the address with friends and family, particularly in terms of sending cards. We do have mailboxes still on our campus, and students occasionally do check those mailboxes. So.
Des.
Have a conversation about a budget. If they haven't had a job or they didn't have a checking account or a debit card or a credit card, make sure that you start to have that conversation about what things cost and what they have in their bank account, because there is such thing as a negative balance. I know we all know all that, right? Yep. It is very important for them to learn that. Probably not the hard way, but sit down and talk about a budget.
Michelle.
2 things. Encourage your son or daughter to sign up for the Creighton Comprehensive Student Record. It's a co-curricular transcript program. And I would also say to sign up for Zipcar. There's no reason that your son or daughter needs to bring a car to campus. We have a ride-sharing program where I think it's like $9 or $10 an hour and includes gas, insurance, maintenance, everything. So Zipcar, good thing.
We like to say that, yes, you're here to grow your mind. That's first and foremost the purpose for coming to university. But at a Jesuit school, we believe in the unity of mind, heart, and spirit. So encourage them to get involved in something outside of the classroom. So again, that can be going on a retreat, getting on an intramural team, joining a student org, doing some weekly service. That's really easy to do here, going on a service and justice trip over fall or spring break. Lots of ways to get involved outside the classroom.
Michelle talked about a zip car, and while you don't need a car, there are some folks that are from Omaha that also can help with your student with that I don't have a car thing because they're local, right? So if you are one of those students from Omaha, use that to your advantage. Tell people you're from Omaha. You kind of have some social capital to show them around your city. If you're not and you're from far away, find the student from Omaha and help with your transition, because they can be a nugget of resource about where's the Target, where's the good restaurants, and all of those things. So if you're from Omaha, use that to your advantage.